So kindness is the first one. And then the second one, and Jen, you always talk about this, but I'm actually going to punt this to Soigné, is making sure you live your life in chapters. And one of the things that you said when we spoke on the phone is that you did have your children very young, and you gave that time to them fully. And you didn't really start this boutique until about 4 years ago.
I always planned to be a mother first. So I had my kids very young, and I really took a lot of time to be there to see their first steps, taking them to their nursery schools, seeing them all the way to high school, and really rooting all the different seeds in them. And at this point, I've done everything that I can do in terms of they're my little seeds. So how they're going to grow up into trees with their culture, with all the time.
You built a
So,
strong foundation with them right off the bat.
very, very strong foundation. And I feel like being a young mom sometimes is so much easier because you have so much energy. And like, it's so true. Like, and it's so, I mean, you're growing up with your kids. I remember like there's so many times I remember my kids asking me so many questions. I'm like, oh, hold on, let me find out, let me think. And I like would go up and, either call my husband, I'm like, oh, I don't know the answer of this. And, it's so much fun to put humor in a relationship with your kids. And I see that today. My kids are more like my friends, but they understand the fine line between if I say something like, oh, you can't do that, they understand. But most of the times they understand their boundaries. Before I had my kids, I always had management of time. Like I would make goals for my business, for my family, and for myself. And I think that even as kids, when they see me working at this age, I think they're really happy. The transition was much easier for me because I was a stay-at-home mom, and now all of a sudden, there's so many times I'm not available.
Mm-hmm.
But again, having your own, being your own entrepreneur, you really can balance that.
Sure. And Jen, you also brought up the point that this time, especially the phase that you're in now, it's temporary. They're only going to be 3 or 2 or 1 once. And to cherish that and not be like, oh my God, what did I give up for this?
Yeah, that is the sole reason. I mean, I think a source of frustration that I've had in my career is I've been running my business for 10 years, and right when I was pregnant with my son, my first, I was offered a book deal right when I was pregnant with him. And she's like, oh, you can do it right after you have the baby. It's so easy. I'm like, oh, sure, I'm going to nurse and write a book. Great. And then after that, I was featured in the Times, and I was offered a TV show and another book deal, and then I wanted to have a second baby because I was aware I could write a book at 50, I could write a book at 60, I could do a TV show. There are very few careers other than, prima ballerina or maybe a supermodel that you need to do at 18 to 21. And I had the awareness that it was going to be a lot easier to return and take those opportunities at a later age than to try to have a kid at 50 or 60, although it has been done.
It's going to be me.
And so, and I have to say, right now, it's so funny. I was having like this out-of-body experience getting dressed tonight because I'd done this a million times. I taught for 10 years, 3 times a week, 20 private clients a week. I'd done speaking engagements. I spoke and trained in corporate America for a couple years. And yet I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. I was just, potty training my daughter the last 3 weeks on the potty, wiping poopy up all over the house. Like, that's what I do right now. And there are definitely moments where, I kind of think, my God, look at all that I've put on hold, but look how short and precious this time is. They are getting so big so quickly. My son went down the street today. We live in New Jersey now. I know it's safe, but I'm still like a New Yorker. So I was like, come back like in 10 minutes. But, he already didn't need me. Like, it was kind of like this moment I had of like, oh my God. And you start to reclaim your life. And right when you have a baby, right when they like shoot out of you like a cannon and you start to nurse and they're sucking the life out of you literally, and you love them, but you're exhausted, you're sleep deprived, you're, let's just be honest, not having sex, all these things, you kind of feel like this is going to be forever, and I'm never going to have my life again. And now my son is 6 and my daughter just turned 3 last week, and I'm amazed how fast it's going. And as much as my heart feels called to return to my work because I feel that I have a calling to do something on a much greater scale than I have yet done it, I have faith that in the right moment in time, it's going to fall into place. But right now, this is where I'm supposed to be because I can never get these moments back. And you know, there's this great quote I'll just close that point with because I know we need to move on to the next one.
I learned it from you.
Yeah, I go and get a massage once a week. It's like my free mommy time, no mommy time, you know. And there's this quote that I see on this little book, and it says, enjoy every moment, no matter how challenging or horrendous, for this moment will never come again. And every week I think about that's where I am in my life. Like every little moment is delicious because when it's gone, it's gone. And I don't want to go back. I don't want to ever look back on my life and say, I wish I had been there. You know, yesterday was my kids' orientation, and Steph's helping me out right now with my work, and she's like texting me, Joya needs a contact number. And I'm thinking, what was I thinking to do this one, you know, panel the week the school starts? You know, like I couldn't juggle it all, but I did it, and I was so happy that I was there for my children. Like it was a moment that I have locked here and here that I'll never have to regret that I wasn't there for.
And that's all about living your life in those chapters.
Yeah, and this is definitely that mom chapter, and it's not really where my life is fully my own right now, but I will reclaim it.